Welcome back, YouTube. Once again, we're here. We're doing a leveling kit with some Fox shocks, and I'm going to go through step by step for you. Here's the part number for the Fox shocks. It's the same on both sides. We're using Icon springs. And there's the part number, 62510. Right here we have a ready lift track bar relocation bracket that we're going to use, and Icon bushings to take out some slop and adjust caster. Here's the part number for that bracket, 67-2535. First thing we're going to obviously do is take off the wheels. So we're going to break them loose, then we're going to lift the truck and take them off. Before you take anything apart, you should take a picture of where the springs are seated for when you put your new springs in. Unbolt the brake bracket here so that these lines will be loose and we'll have more room to lower the axle. Next thing we're going to do is disconnect the sway bar from the sway bar end link here. That'll give us the play to move the axle up and down. Now support the axle with a jack or something. Once you support the axle with a jack, then you're going to remove the bolts for the shock. You're going to have the top and the bottom. Or if you're only doing the springs, then obviously you really only need to disconnect the bottom, but in our case we're replacing the shocks. So we're going to remove the top and the bottom and pull this Rancho out and throw it in the garbage. Now we're going to have to get ready to install those silver bushings go right here. So we're going to pull this cotter pin out and then remove this nut and then air hammer out this bushing. Use a 28. I'm using a 28 millimeter big box wrench here to remove this nut. Alright guys, so what you're going to do is put a pickle fork there, you're going to tap that in, and then you're going to take another hammer, a second hammer, you're going to whack this at the same time you have pressure on the bushing, and then it'll just pop out. When you're installing this new bushing, you want to turn this so the arrow on the part is facing towards the front of the truck. Alright, so we take the weight off the axle, and one of us is going to push this axle down, and then the other person is going to unfeed the coil. When you get the spring out, pop off this rubber bushing, and we're going to pop this onto the new spring. Now that the springs are installed, we need to jack it back up, install the new shocks. Use an 18 millimeter ratcheting wrench to put this all back together on the bottom, and then retighten the top. Alright, to get the sway bars and everything back on, we're going to put tires on, we're going to put it on the floor. Don't attach any of this brake stuff until you get the rest put back together. Now that we have it on the ground, you can see we can get the sway bar nuts on, and we can get this bracket put back on. Alright, now we have the sway bar back on. We're going to put these two brackets on, but I would only suggest doing that for city driving. If you're going to go off-roading, go ahead and grab longer brake lines, because after this thing extends, this almost does a 180 degree bend right here. So you don't want to do that. So for now, he's just city driving. He's going to use these and order the longer brake lines. So that track bar bracket here, we're going to remove the whole thing. So first we're going to loosen all the nuts and bolts. Then we're going to grab this. We're going to remove the track bar first, let it hang down. Then bolt up the new bracket, and then bolt back up the track bar. The 3 bolts that face forward are going to be a 21 millimeter. Use an 18 millimeter socket with a breaker bar to get the bracket off. Torque all the hardware to 130 foot-pounds. So we didn't have a 400 foot-pound torque wrench, so we used a 250 pound torque wrench and then we gave it a quarter of a turn with a big breaker bar. If you're going to mount it this way, make sure that this hose is not rubbing on the bracket, because eventually it could go through and poke a hole inside this hose. So after this, you're definitely going to want to get a steering alignment. We're off just a little bit. The truck feels smoother, and it sounds that it's a lot quieter. I'd like to thank everybody for checking out this video. It wasn't too bad, but you're definitely going to either need a lift or some badass floor jacks. So thanks for watching. Until next time, wrench on.